Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What a weekend it has been for 48 of football and the game against Texas A&M, where we came away with a loss. But everything is still ahead of us. We can still conquer a lot. The SEC East is still ahead. But without further ado, I am joined by with my co-hosts Daryl and Lucas. How are you guys doing tonight
We're doing good for a Monday night.
for a Monday
I'm
night?
doing good. I'm doing
Yes.
good in the race. I'm doing good. Just ready to talk some Gator football. And trust me, I'm gonna go on a rant. So be
Uh,
prepared.
yes, absolutely. We all are. I think we're all pretty pleased with the way the offenses looked throughout the course of three games. There's some corrections that we can have there, but that's every team in the SEC. When you play in the SEC, you're going to get everybody's best, especially knowing that there's only 10 games and every game's going to count, whether it's an East battle or a West, a cross division battle. No matter what it is, you're going to get everybody's best, and we've seen that this weekend with a lot of teams going neck and neck and taking it down to the wire with the Florida A&M game. It came down to like we had said of who was going to have the ball last, and we'll get
Let's
into
play
all
that
that.
on
But
there.
we're gonna start out with the fact that Florida came up on the losing end, but we had an 11-point lead at one point in the game. Um, but Kyle Trask in the offense, they looked really good, really dominant to start the game and to continue on. Kyle Trask had went 73 for 103, 996 yards, 14 touchdowns, and one interception. I mean that's tremendous when you look at that we're playing SEC games
He's already,
and not
he's
just
already
like
almost.
can you imagine how many touchdowns Kyle Trask would have right now if we were doing the regular season? Playing these little
I don't
cupcake
mean.
schools. I mean, I think he'd be
I
a
don't
little
mean
higher than
to.
that right now.
I don't mean to cut you off, but he's almost at 1,000 yards, and we're only 3 games into the season.
Exactly. Only 3 games
Yep.
in the season, and
Those are
you
Heisman
know,
numbers.
yeah, and we gotta consider that Kyle Trask was someone who sat on the bench most of his career as a backup here at Florida, and then he's come out most of last year and then this year just showing that he can be that guy. And as we've all said, we don't know what he showed in practice, but we know that when he gets into the game time, he's ready to go. So I'm going to start with Lucas. What were your takes on the offense before we get into defense? Just offense. How did you think about the
The
offense?
offense played like I thought they were going to play, and they played super, but you can't be one dimensional and expect to win. The defense gotta do their thing, and the defense didn't do their thing, and that's why we lost. Not to mention the fumble at the very end, but
Yeah, you know, um, offensively we looked really good, um, but Daryl, I'm gonna come to you on this. But as the game went on, we kind of took our foot off the pedal a little bit. And I'm just because I alluded to that in the pregame of I didn't want to see that, and that's kind of exactly what happened. What do you think is happening with the Florida offense and why we're taking our foot off the pedal?
I just think that maybe when they get that lead, they try to get a little bit more comfortable, right? And they maybe they don't press as hard as they would as if it was 0-0 or tied up. And some of that, Dan has to kind of man up and say, you know what, maybe I'm not calling the plays to keep aggressive. The offense can score points. The offense can score points almost every drive. Well, this is a championship offense. So when we get those leads, we have to keep them going. We have to keep that foot on the pedal, like you said, and motivate these guys to act like every play matters, right? It's Dan always talks about the Gator standard and how we got to make that the Gator standard every play, every snap. When you see 11 points, you still got to go out there and play like it's like we're not winning that football game. I don't know how you get that to the players and the coaches because sometimes the coaches can get a little laxed on some of the call plays as well.
Right.
I hope
Yeah.
I hope I hope this loss wakes us up like 18 against Kentucky.
right.
After
And as we've seen that in the AP poll, Florida dropped to number 10. Personally, I consider them number 8 because we have Penn State and Ohio State at 6 and 9 that are in the top 10 and haven't even played a down of football. And I'm I'm just going to go on this little rant right here because I don't feel that if you haven't played a down in college football, how can you be in the top 10? Because I think that's going to bite some team, whether it's Florida or any other team, bite them right in the ass for playing a better schedule and better teams. Because when you really think about the Big Ten, with Ohio State, Penn State, and who else can really compete in the Big Ten? I think you can put Ohio State, Penn State, and maybe Michigan as 3 teams that really compete in the Big Ten, while they just kind of annihilate the rest of their conference.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't agree with them being ahead of us. I was a little shocked that they only dropped us to 10. So we're definitely still in the top 10. And, look, everything's still in front of Florida. So, I mean, this is not a bad thing. It may even end up being a good thing.
Right. Those of y'all who are watching, drop a comment. Let us know what y'all thought about the game, and rather it's on the offensive end, the defensive end. What do we need to do to get better? What y'all's take of the game? Because I'm gonna give y'all some stats real quick. In the first quarter, Florida scored first. A&M scored. Florida scored. A&M scored. We went into the end of the first quarter, tied up 14. In the second quarter, Florida scored. A&M they scored their field goal. So we went into halftime up 21-17, and then in the third quarter we came out really good. Texas A&M only had 6 plays for 29 yards, and they had to punt the ball. Florida gets the ball back. We go down the field and score in 7 plays, 90 yards, and we make it 28-17 at that point. We're up by 11. And then A&M, they get the ball. They go 11 plays, 75 yards in 5 minutes and 20 seconds, and they make it 28-24. Florida gets the ball back, and we go 3 and out. We punt the ball. A&M gets the ball, and we're now down 28-31. And then the fourth quarter comes around. We're down by 3. Florida kicks a field goal, ties it up at 31. A&M gets the ball. They fumble. We get the ball. We score a touchdown and go up 38-31. A&M gets the ball, and then in 4 plays, they go 75 yards and score and tie the game up at 38 all. And then Florida gets the ball back, and in 3 plays, Malik Davis fumbles the ball, and A&M gets the ball, and they go down the field 7 plays, 40 yards, and kick the game-winning field goal. So when you look at the second half, Florida had a touchdown, a punt, a field goal, a touchdown, and a fumble. There's only 2 real good possessions in the second half. The rest of it, it wasn't so great.
So, are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about defense. I know we are.
Yeah. We're definitely going to get into the defense. I'm just wanting to talk about this offense right now.
So I will say, before we get into too much detail about offense, our defense. Offense obviously looked really good. I will say that the game, like you were just going by the drives, right? The drives that were going down. The game played in our favor to finish the game.
Yes.
So I will say that the biggest mistake, regardless of the missed, blocks or Wilson didn't get the interceptions and things like that. Regardless of that, the offense had the ball in 4 minutes left in that fourth quarter, and we fumble. And I'm not saying that the game comes down to one play, but that play cost us the game. So it really did cost us the game.
I don't mean to cut you off, but if we don't fumble, we go down there.
We don't fumble. We kick our field goal or touchdown and probably win that football game. So if you're going to narrow it down to one play, everything played out in our favor. I said many times through Saturday, I said, I hope our offense gets the ball last. I hope our offense gets the ball last. Because it was just one of those games. And we did. We had the ball last. And, when you have the ball last in that situation, you have to tell them players, hold that ball. You cannot let that football hit the ground like that. So I will say that play definitely impacted the rest of the game in the loss.
Right.
Before we get too much into the defensive mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. What we gave up wasn't very good because Texas A&M, they had 32 first downs. 17 of them were passing, 13 were rushing, and that's one thing that I wanted to get into. Was in the first half, A&M was able to score on Florida by passing, and then as the third quarter unreal, they were getting their running game going, and they were just being able to run and pass on Florida. And I was just worried about them passing on us, and then they became, two-dimensional where they could run and throw on us, and that's where it became scary because we at that point we really couldn't stop anything, and they had, where is it, 338 yards passing, 205 yards rushing, and we just cannot have that. We cannot give up 205 yards rushing, 338 yards passing, and 543 yards total. So, getting into the defense, we're not there. No. I don't know what the defense has got to do to step up, but it's not very good. But Lucas,
if you don't mind, I
I'm
might
gonna
want
let you
to. I gotta.
hold on, Lucas.
Go on real quick.
Yeah, and that's where I'm going to come with this question with you. How can the defense get better for LSU and beyond?
Well, they got to get their guys back first because we have a lot of guys out. Kyrie Campbell's going to be back next week. David Waters tweeted that out. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but got to get the guys out, and we got to change schemes. I mean, maybe we got to play man-to-man coverage or something. I don't know, but whatever Grantham is doing is not getting the job done. I'm thinking we got to play man-to-man and press coverage, press the corners, and press the receivers.
I agree with that, but here's the thing: we were doing that on some plays, and especially Marco Wilson was getting beat very badly. Marco Wilson was our thorn in the defensive back.
Yeah, I was going to touch. I'll touch a little bit on defense too because obviously the defense needs work. We know that, and I do know that a lot of our defensive players aren't playing in their actual skilled position. So with Campbell coming back, that will help. Before I get too critical of the defense, I will say this. Grantham did take some shots at the quarterback in the third and fourth quarter. He was actually trying to do some crazy blitzing. We just couldn't get home. So, those little things right there could have changed, but he actually was trying to get some blitzes, which probably left some guys open in some positions. So we got to make sure we get that sack, right? We got to make sure we get that pressure. And then Wilson, buddy, you're going to have to sit out, man, and figure out what you got to do. You're going to have to play somebody other than Wilson.
I'm not trying to give excuses, but remember he got injured. Maybe he's not fully. Maybe he's not fully recovered.
I don't know. Wilson has always been a problem.
Yeah, that goes to exactly what Daryl is saying, though, Lucas. If his injury is prolonging him and he's not healthy and he's not ready, bring somebody else and put somebody else in his spot to where we can see what they're capable of doing. Because when we look at our quarterback situation from after we lost Felipe Franks and then Kyle Trask came in, obviously we've seen that Kyle Trask was a much better fit, a much better gelled with the offense. And he didn't even have a whole lot of time playing with the offense, in game time situations. So what I'm saying, and like you're alluding to, Daryl, that maybe put somebody else in his spot and see how they play. If they don't play good for a series or two, then put Marco back in. But we got to try something different.
We recruited well last year. We recruited well the year before last. There's got to be somebody behind him. And I mean, at least give up the other guy a shot because Wilson let 2 touchdowns happen. I mean, and the ball was the right there, especially at the end when it was 38, 21 or something, and they passed the ball down deep. The ball was coming right down in front of him, and
I
he
don't
missed
know
it.
whether he was trying to make a play on the ball or
He
if
was
he
trying to
play.
intercept it,
Yeah,
but he should have just forget the interception, knock the damn pass down, and go for the next play.
it's
You
at the
know,
goal line.
yeah, it's at the freaking goal line. Anyway, Wilson has got to sit. He's got to sit and think about his future as a Gator because he's not playing well, and there's got to be somebody out there. So that's my one critical person, and every team's gonna go after Wilson. Every team's gonna go after him.
Right, right. And we have a comment here. I don't know who it was from, but tough defeat on our Gators. But hopefully this loss will humble our Gators, and they will be hungry for the rest of the season. Better come ready for LSU because they're also going to be hungry and mad after being upset by Missouri last weekend. And we need vengeance on LSU. No excuses.
Yeah, I'll touch on that first if you don't mind. But you're
Okay.
right. I mean, it is a humbling loss. And I've talked with you guys personally before the season started when the 10 SEC game. I circled A&M, and I told you all in the beginning of the year that I felt like that would be our actual first loss for a couple of reasons. And it is. So it's our first loss. So let's get together. This is a good thing. You're going to fix your mistakes because now you're really going to focus on those mistakes and make some changes.
Right.
Florida is not out of it. I can't stand the ones that say, well, we're just done now. We ain't going to do nothing. No, the championship team is there. The offense is there. The defense is there too. But there's probably some pieces that they got to change up, and Florida's going to be a lot different team. Everybody's struggling on defense.
Right.
Okay, go watch the games from Saturday. There's only like 2 teams that are probably championship-ready defenses, and that would be Georgia and Clemson. The rest of them, they're all struggling. Guys, they're all getting 20, 30, 40 points on them, every one of them.
Even the Bama. We have another comment here. I hear a lot of people say fire Todd Grantham. What's y'all's response to that? All I know is lots of pressure on the season, and we better get it together. Let me touch on that because I really want to say that I don't think at this current moment that firing Todd Grantham is the answer. He's not out there covering these passes. He's not out there trying to make these tackles. We know what he's capable of doing. Yep. We've alluded to it in previous podcasts where he don't have the pass rushers that he's used to having. So without the pass rush, what kind of identity are we?
Yep.
And I think that this will humble him and maybe take a back seat to all the blitzing he's doing,
yep.
and like putting more guys in the back and then stopping the pass.
You're right about that. Go ahead, Lucas.
I agree with you, but if it's at the same at the end of the season, I agree he needs to be gone.
Yeah. I'll touch on the comment as well because it is a good one. We talked about this pre-show, but no, I wouldn't fire Grantham right now. Okay, if the ship is sinking later in the season, then we need to make a change. But Grantham has proven himself in past seasons.
Exactly.
Okay, so he has had defenses that have been good caliber. So I don't know if it's Grantham. I think the pieces he's got to figure out. He did try some of it a little bit this weekend, which I was really happy about. He did try to get some different blitzes. It just didn't work out, unfortunately. But as they keep trying that, they're going to find a guy. They're going to find somebody. Maybe it's Campbell coming back that makes that Devontae a little bit more of an end rusher instead of playing where he's been playing. So you got to find that guy to make that edge rush. And Grantham's going to be dangerous. He's not a bad defensive coordinator. So don't look at this one game. This was a 41-38 game. Okay, it was a scoring game. So don't look at that and say, well, he's garbage. That's a close loss. That could have went any way. So Florida could have definitely won that game.
And I'm going to bring this up because we have a lot of people talking about the defense, and I'm going to bring up this stat right here. We've given up 58% on third down between all 3 games. We've given up 58%. And on fourth down, we've given up 75% on fourth down. That is
Yep,
unacceptable at the
that
University of
is.
Florida or
It
at
is.
any damn near any
Any
university
university.
in the nation. It's got to come to a halt. It's got to stop, and it's got to change.
Yep.
This week. But let me ask you this, Daryl. I'm gonna go with you on this question. Do you think it is a leadership issue because we don't have that we don't have C.J. Henderson back there no more on the corner?
Yeah, I do think that there might be some leadership, right? Wilson's supposed to be that guy, but if he's not making his plays, then how do you look up to him? So, I do think that maybe there is a little bit of leadership issues on, especially in the secondary and in the defense. But I do feel that Florida doesn't have to be. We don't have to have an elite defense this year, but we do have to improve. If we can improve, then we'll
They
be
just
much better. We got to improve those third and fourth down stats. You got to look at that. We've stopped them on first and second. We got to look at those third and fourth down stats and see what in the world are we doing.
Right,
it just has to
exactly.
be, it just has to be average, and our offense and we can probably win the freaking
Yep.
national championship. It doesn't have to be.
Exactly. If we had half a defense, we would be
Just have if he could just put 20% improvement on those numbers,
yeah.
we'd be unstoppable.
And I'm going to bring up this one because I feel like this is a really good thing here. I haven't seen Derek Wingo play linebacker play. He was Gatorade Player of the Year. He's very talented, and he can cause havoc on opposing offenses. What is it with Derek Wingo not playing? I mean, he was highly recruited, like you said, Daryl, earlier in the show. That we've recruited really well. So, where are the pieces that should be back there and that are not
I don't
playing
know.
as
I don't
well?
know what's
Lucas,
going on.
Lucas, what is he listed as on the depth chart right now?
I would assume a linebacker because that's what he was recruited as.
Well, I'm
But I
saying,
don't.
like, is he listed questionable or is he listed as out? Does anybody know?
I think questionable, but I don't. I don't.
I mean, obviously he hasn't been playing, but I'm just wondering if maybe there's something there that's causing him not to play, but that they're being quiet about because he was a very talented player. So I don't know why he's not playing, to be honest. But there's obviously something there that the university's not wanting to talk about. So I don't know.
Maybe COVID, maybe. I don't think it's
And I ain't
COVID.
saying it's COVID. Look, there's players that have COVID. All right,
Yes,
there's players that have COVID. They're not going to tell you that because they can't.
right,
Um,
right.
so there are players that do. I think Campbell and some of them may have even had some of that stuff. And maybe it wasn't even COVID. Maybe they just had a fever. Maybe they were
Right.
just sick for a couple weeks or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. One of our comments says, I feel like Wilson and Tony did a complete swap from last year to this year. Tony is a monster this year, and Wilson is as soft as Charmin toilet paper this year.
I love
I
that.
completely agree with that.
Yes.
Whoever dropped that comment, drop your name.
Please put your name.
I really want to know because you make a really good
Look.
reference right there, and maybe that's where all the toilet paper shortage has gone to.
Listen.
To
Look.
Marco Wilson.
I'm telling you, I want to see. I really want to see whoever's behind Wilson at least play some snaps this year. Like this game coming up, because Wilson's not doing it, man, and I don't know why he's not doing it.
I don't know
He's
if you
always
saw
kind
it,
of been a
but,
problem anyway, but I know he's gotten hurt and stuff, but we gotta. That's a spot that we have to solidify because other teams are going to go after him.
Okay, I found out who it is. Devin Boone.
All right.
That's who it was. So we'll give him credit for that comment. I really liked it.
Where's the helmet stickers?
Yeah, right.
There's a helmet sticker for you.
Yeah, right. So I do want to touch on what we got coming up, which is LSU this weekend at 3:30, and I thought that it was going to be on CBS. It is actually on ESPN.
I was shocked about that.
So those of y'all who are so accustomed to having a 3:30 slot and it being on CBS, I thought the same thing. It is not on CBS. It is on ESPN.
Yeah,
There
that's
is no 3:30 slot for SEC play on CBS. However, there is an 8 o'clock slot on CBS, which is the Alabama Georgia game.
well, yeah. Maybe that's why they're doing it. I don't know, but that shocked me. I thought for sure it was going to be CBS.
Yeah, I did too. Um, so we touched on the offense, we touched on the defense. Now let's kind of go ahead and look at because I wanted to talk about this for those of you who seen that Todd Grantham was fired. That was on a fake account. Todd Grantham is still there. He is not fired. So we'll put that out there.
First thing
And
I
another
did,
thing that I wanted to
the
touch
first thing
on.
I did was check Twitter, and David Waters was like, "Hold on, guys, that's not
Yeah,
Yeah,
true."
it shocked
exactly.
everybody. It shocked me when I heard about it this
Yeah,
morning. I was just thinking that just don't sound right. But
it just don't sound right. I'm not a big fan in um, firing anybody in the middle of the season, and here's why. When you make that change, it's a big gamble because you may, change the style of play that you're playing, which Dan Mullen has a very routine. He goes very routine in how he goes about his business.
yeah,
And if you change it up, the players, they're changing it up, and the defensive scheme might change it up. I mean, in all, we look at when LSU's coach when he became the interim head coach. That was kind of like a blessing in disguise because the following year, they ended up being national champions. So
yeah,
yes, it could be a blessing in disguise making a change in the middle of a season, but more times than not, it's going to be a big issue and it's not going to go
yeah.
the way that you want it to go. So those of you who are on the bandwagon of firing Todd Grantham, um,
No.
let's not be recliner players and
Yeah,
talk through the screen
yeah. I'll
and
touch on that whenever you get done.
yeah, and talk about how what should happen or this or that. And Daryl, I know you said pre-show that you wanted to
Yeah,
touch on that, so I'll
yeah,
let you take the floor.
yeah. So listen, guys, we're Gator fans, okay? And I know as a fan base, I have to. I get pissed when we lose, man. I get emotionally pissed when we lose a football game. But Todd Grantham
But
is a
that's
good
why.
defensive coordinator. Yeah, I do, okay? And I look at it and I sit back and I say, I've gotten better over the years because I sit back and I say, you know what? I'm sitting here in my couch in my recliner and I'm watching the football game and I can tell you right now, hey, that guy missed that play or that guy didn't do that. And it's so easy to do that. But none of y'all could go out there and make that play either. So it's very easy to be critical of players. There's a lot of pressure on these coaches. There's a lot of pressure on these players to be these athletes, right? So don't be the recline. I like to call them, like you mentioned, the recliner fans. Don't be a recliner fan. Be a Gator fan. Okay? Yeah, we messed up. We lost the football game, but support your team. I'm not a big fan of hiring. The one thing that was going for Florida this year was the fact that we were returning all of our coaches. If you fire a defensive coordinator right now and our defense is struggling, yeah, maybe it's a good thing, but chances are it's not going to be a good thing right off the bat. So we got to buckle down. We got to fix the players and change some players around. But we cannot be these recliner fans. It's so easy for us to do that. I do it all the time. I mean, I'm a critic. We're on the show. We criticize the plays all the time. But at the end of the day, I'm going to support Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen's the head coach. So I trust what he's going to do. And if
Yeah.
Todd Grantham needs to leave, then let that happen towards the end of the season, not during the season.
Right. And we have another comment that says if somehow Todd Grantham gets fired this season, and we're going to say at the end of the season, how would you feel about Muschamp or Charlie Strong coming as defensive coordinator? Um,
I would love Charlie Strong because one, he's a great DC and he knows Dan Mullen because he coached with him at Florida the first time. And two, he's an ace recruiter and he knows the state of Florida. So
Lucas, you make a great point about Charlie Strong, but I want to talk about Will Muschamp here for a minute because I felt that if we were to have a regular season, that this season Will Muschamp would be on the hot seat in the coaching carousel. But with this being a 10-game all SEC schedule, I don't think that he is no longer going to be on the hot seat because anytime you play an SEC schedule, you're going to get everybody's best. Like I said earlier, I mean, look at Ole Miss. What has Ole Miss been And then now all of a sudden, Ole Miss is great offensively, and they're horrible on defense. But that's kind of every defense except for Georgia right now. So we knew that the defense was going to be the thorn in our back through the season, and like Daryl, you made this a point earlier of it's better to get the loss out of the way now, humble ourselves, and get better from this, and move on to the rest of the season, and being able to get that win because we are in the top 10, which is
Yep.
great to see.
Yeah, a one-loss SEC team is not out of this, guys. I mean, I honestly believe that every SEC team will lose a football game before the SEC championship game. I mean, Alabama and Georgia are going to eliminate each other this weekend. And I'm actually might think that Georgia might actually beat Alabama right now. And then I feel that Florida could beat Georgia in 4 weeks. So I think every team is going to have a loss. This is a 10-game SEC schedule. You can't hardly come out with a loss in a 6-game SEC schedule, let alone having 10. So everybody's going to have a loss, I think, by the end of the year.
Honestly, think Florida goes into the cocktail party with this one loss, and Georgia
Oh,
got
yeah.
2 losses.
Look, this loss, like we were talking about, this is the best time of the year for it to happen. Because if we didn't lose to Saturday, what are you going to fix? I mean, you talk about it, well, we need to fix this, but they don't really fix it. This loss is going to make them fix the problems. And we're going to go in and be a better football team because of this. And I would much rather lose to Texas A&M, a game that really don't matter that much. I mean, it matters, but it's not an East game, and go beat Georgia and Tennessee and these other East opponents. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to get to the SEC championship first, and then we can worry about the playoffs and all that other stuff.
Right.
Can I
Everything is still ahead of us.
I don't know if you guys saw. I don't know if you saw Mullen's press conference the other day, but he did say that he's going to evaluate everything on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. Look, he's a smart man. Hey, I agree with that pick right there, Dan Quinn. That was our best defense in 2012. We didn't have an offense that could save our lives. We ran the ball the whole year. That was the best defense that Florida ever had.
I'm posting it yesterday. I'm like, what if Mullen does get fired? What if Grantham does get fired? What do you guys want them? What you guys?
I would take him. I would take him. I would take Charlie Strong. I would take Will Muschamp. I'd take any 3 of those, to be honest with you.
I would too. We have a lot ahead of us, and Georgia gave Tennessee their first loss. So Tennessee in the East has a loss.
Yep.
We could give Georgia their loss, and that's going to come down to where we got to beat Georgia, and that tiebreaker of even if Georgia wins out, except for Florida beats Georgia, and Georgia wins the rest of their games, and we win the rest of our games, we'll get that edge if we beat Tennessee as well.
A one-loss SEC team is in the playoffs, and I mean you would have to go win the SEC championship and all that good stuff as well. And we don't even know what the other teams are going to do yet. A 2-loss SEC champion could actually probably win.
I'll give you this scenario. What if we go 1 loss but lose to Bama? Do you think we still make the playoffs?
A 2-loss SEC team could get in because we don't know what the Big Ten's going to do yet. We really don't. And I mean, or you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, Clemson's going to drop a game too. Clemson's going to drop a game before their championship game.
Well, we talked about it in the pregame of the Clemson and Miami game, and we said we'll get to see what kind of a real deal Miami is.
Yep.
And Miami didn't do much, and Clemson was really showed their defense, really showed their offense, and but I think that Clemson's not a complete team. Alabama, they went heart to heart, head to head with Ole Miss, and that game came down to the fourth quarter. And what I'm saying is when that game came down to the fourth quarter, it really came down to the fourth quarter. And the only reason why I say Alabama came up with that win over Ole Miss is because Alabama has more depth in their lineup than what Ole Miss has. And they can rotate players out because their second and third string players are just as good as their first string players.
Yes, they have basically 2 first string playing ability at Alabama. I mean, look, they're going to lose. I'm telling you. You can call me crazy, but I think North Carolina could actually beat Clemson this year. I
I
think
don't
I
I
think
don't
they have
know.
better.
Do you know if they play each other? I haven't really looked at the NCAA
I
tournament.
believe they do. And North Carolina, Mac Brown over there, he's looking pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, he really is.
I think Clemson loses. I think that with the scenarios that are happening right now, and we really don't know about Penn State and Ole Miss yet, or not Ole Miss, Ohio State. We don't know about those guys yet.
Mhm.
They could, if they beat each other up over there, which could
You
possibly
guys,
happen. You could
I
have a
honestly think,
two-loss team in the playoffs this year.
You really
I
could.
honestly think two lost SEC team gets in over a one
I'm
loss
just
Big
saying
Ten
it could
team.
happen. It could definitely happen.
It could very well happen.
If it now, I would say if everything was normal in the regular season, no. But if it was a close loss, like a 1 point game in the SEC championship game, and some crazy things happen with some other teams, possible.
Maybe.
Exactly. And one thing that I do want to touch before we go, and I know we'll talk about this more on next week's show, but I do want to make this a factor. Bring this up this week is that the Vanderbilt Missouri game, I believe it is, it's going to be played this weekend, has been postponed because of COVID and injuries and all of that. So going into next weekend, we play Missouri. That could very well be a factor. So as much as we want to continue playing the games that we're playing, Florida really hasn't had any trouble with COVID that we know
That we
of.
know of.
Because, Dan Mullen has already said that he's really not going to talk about injuries because when you talk about injuries, you can't talk about too much because of COVID and you can't release the health of the players and all of that. So um, from week to week, we're really not going to know what the injury status is from player to player. But one thing I did want to touch on that I kind of slipped my mind earlier is that Kyle Pitts did not really play in the second and third quarter of that game with an ankle injury, and I hope he'll be good to go for this week against LSU.
I do too. This game's going to be a high-scoring game. I mean, I
I
hate to
have
say it that way,
30
but it's going to
31.
be.
I have
It's
30
going to be
31
high.
in the contest.
Yeah, because
I have
LSU
30
can score
31.
points and we can score points.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
It might be the
That's just
last.
the way it's
The
going.
last it might be the last. It might be the team who has the ball last that wins it.
Well, it may be another one of them situations
Yeah,
to who has the ball last.
shootout of who has the ball last. Any given week, anything can happen. Let's just hope that it happens to where Florida gets on track with the defense and that we don't give up 500 over 500 yards passing because right now we're 12th in passing defense. So it's not looking good on the defensive end on our back. There's a comment earlier about us giving up a lot of deep balls. As you alluded to earlier, Daryl, with Marco Wilson just oofing that interception at the goal line. We just can't.
It gives me nightmares at night. I'll tell you that right there. Because that,
Exactly.
if he no, don't get me wrong. If he would have intercepted the ball, he would have been a hero.
Exactly. We wouldn't be talking about that, and if we would have just got the win, we wouldn't be talking about a lot of things that we are. But because we are talking about them, they are also talking about them, and like we've all said, maybe that will humble them, and they will correct problems that they might have not have corrected.
Yep, I
I
agree.
think one time where we've been on for 39 minutes, we might want to wrap this up, guys.
All right.
Yes. So thank you all for tuning in, and thank you for all the comments. We love being able to interact with y'all. I see the comments. It's amazing to have each and every one of y'all. Make sure you click
And
the
by the
link
way, I
in
did
the
ask
description.
Tommy if he wants to go on, but he didn't. He did not respond to me, so I asked him in the business page if he wants to get on with us. So I'll keep you guys updated.
Yes. Make sure you click the link in the description and click that StreamYard/Facebook and accept where we can see your name, so we know who we can address the comments to. And Scott has done a good job at that. And, we're gonna bring his comment up here because it is Go Gators, and As we say when we get off the show,
Number
if you ain't
10?
a
Is it
Gator,
10? We're number 10 now?
we're
Number
number 10.
10?
Number
Okay,
10.
10.
If you
No,
ain't a
we're number
Gator,
1, baby.
you must be Gator bait.
Let's begin.
Go Gators.